Okay, we're going to talk about the basics of ZBrush. If you already know that, skip this video. So I pull up ZBrush, usually Lightbox is open, so I can either get what I need out of here, for example, this demo head or whatever, or just hit Lightbox to close it. And to load in the tool that you saved, load tool on the right hand side, and find your tool, which is a .ztl. Hit open. Then you're going to left click and drag. So this has drugged this tool onto, drugged, who knows, onto the canvas, and then I need to hit edit. Now I'm able to rotate around this guy and do all the sculpting that I want to do. So let's go. Now I can sculpt. Okay, that's great. But we are talking about the UI. So we have edit, that's how we actually sculpt. Move. All right, we can move this sub tool. That's creepy. We can rotate. We can also scale. And those buttons are located up here. We can change our pivot point of this gizmo if we want to. We need to unlock it by pressing the unlock button, and then we can adjust it. Maybe I want the pivot point out here, and then I can lock it again. So now this is that pivot point. I can always go back. I can reset and send the gizmo home. Go home, gizmo, go home. Cool. Moving along, we have mRGB, so this is material, and then your color channel. This is just RGB, just material, and Z-add. So typically, you're going to keep it on Z-add. You don't really need to go to Z-sub because holding down Alt will make that happen. Focal shift, watch my brush here. This is kind of like the fall off. So let's do a focal shift that's -100, which is there. And then let's do default, which would be 0, and 100. So you can kind of see what's happening. This focal shift is that circle, that inner circle. You can see it changing. Draw size located here, just how big your brush is. Control Z to undo, and if I hold down S, actually just press S, I'm sorry, press S, I can change the draw size on the fly. So instead of coming all the way up here to adjust, I can press S wherever I am, change the draw size. When I start ZBrush, I usually press this. This will remember the size of the brush. Let's move along. My setup looks slightly different than your guys's, but that's okay. On the right-hand side, we have all of our palettes. So this tool is composed of many other tools, which are called subtools. So I can left-click or tap on subtool, and then I've got my subtool palette. So if I wanted to work on the brain, I can select it, and now I'm just sculpting on the brain and not the face. Yep, subtool, here's geometry. This is how we add divisions. I can go to low or high. We've got all kinds of options in here. So geometry and subtool are important ones. They're all important, but for this class, geometry, subtool, sometimes deformation, masking, and visibility. That's pretty much it. Within geometry, there's a lot more, like Dynamesh is located here, Z-remesher, modified topology. These are all important ones. And this is how we move around our scene. We can press move or zoom and rotate. I never use this because I can just left click and rotate around. When I hold down shift, so I'm using my stylus moving around. If I hold shift, it will snap to these views, which can be super helpful. Pressing shift. And yes, let's see, what else? That'll be good. That's just basic UI of ZBrush. There's a lot more to it. Don't forget that ZBrush is set up to be like a giant help menu. So if I hover my mouse over something, say like this, Remember draw size per brush. So it gives me that little snippet of what that button does. Or I can hold down Control. Well, I guess I'm on a Mac, so I'm pressing Command. You guys will press Control. The Preferences palette enables you to customize the ZBrush interface. So if I have a question about it, I can hold down Control and get more information on what this button does. So ZBrush is like a giant help menu, which is great.